Good morning, friends. Pastor Chuck Blair here. Great to have you joining me on this beautiful spring weekend. It's beautiful out here in the Philadelphia area, and I certainly hope it's beautiful wherever or whenever you're joining us here at New Church Live. And today is like a pure theology. This is just a pure theological conversation, and it's a pure theological conversation that there's some things we're going to talk about here and there, and they're really descriptive. They're really about what is happening in our lives, and there's not necessarily a to-do list at the other side of it. It's just like, oh yeah, this is how life's gonna unfold. So join me in that journey. So what we've done, just to set the context, Adam and Eve are moved out of the garden, out of that, that initial paradise state that we all have, and then eventually it goes south. And oftentimes that's of our own volition, all kinds of challenges, and then we continue to move on. We know we can't go back. So God is with us as we move on into the world. And that's the part of the story now where kids finally show up. Cain and Abel, the famous two, Cain and Abel, the two brothers, Cain and Abel. Now, when you look at the idea of that from a Christian New Church perspective, we look at that and we think, oh yeah, what is this picture, and what is this picture happens in us? And what happens in us is that this new sense of autonomy that's grown over time, this sense of self that has a tragic side and it also has a good side, and God is with us in both. And eventually, offspring come out of that. Eventually things are born out of that new place. And today we're looking at Cain, and here's the quote from the Bible. This is Genesis 4. And Adam and Eve conceived and delivered Cain and said, I have acquired a man, Jehovah. So this is the first son. Now what is Cain all about? Well, Cain, we could maybe just hold this as a picture of Cain. Cain is the knowledge, that we believe, and this is super important. Like, this is a real linchpin kind of Christian New Church theology, is the idea that truth is first in time, love is first in end. So what does that mean? That means that we have to learn stuff first, and that through the learning it, we can actually come to understand love more and more and more and more. And we live in a culture where that's kind of hard. I was mentioning to someone, I think I've even mentioned it on here before, one author I really like, and he said, we live in an era that believes it's better to drill 100 wells 1 foot deep than to drill one well 100 feet deep. And I think that's really true. We have a hard time really sitting in one place and really drilling deep there. And that's what this is a call to. It's the idea that, yep, we really do have to learn stuff. We really have to learn it, and we really have to learn it well. And when we can learn it, it will start to create this beautiful little, it's not just first we learn it, then we love it. It's beautiful where learning and love just keep on going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Folks, look at, a silly one, right? Sourdough bread. Like, who would have known so many people learned how to do that and ended up loving it? And it's learn, love, learn, love, learn, love. Where these two, when they're at their best, and we're going to look at when they're not in a few days here, but when they're at their best, they're constantly reinforcing each other. Cain and Abel, land and the animals. Cain and Abel. That these things become this very righteous loop at its best, which again, I want to say, does not always happen. That's so important to have. I was a few weeks ago, for those of you who watched the Sunday service, I was really thinking about the musicians, and we've just been blessed over the years with having incredibly talented musicians at New Church Live. And I think about, what if their idea of musical discipline was just watching MTV, just watching music videos or musicians on TV, without ever practicing, without ever learning, just there to just plain enjoy it without actually learning anything. Well, we wouldn't have the beautiful musical talent we do have at New Church Live if that was the case. It's the same for them. It's the same for you. It's the same for me. We can have things we love, but adding knowledge to them is actually a really good thing, and imagine a son or daughter saying, oh, mom, dad, I love blah, 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 blah. And your response is like, oh, that's great. I'm glad you love something. That's one response, not a bad response. Maybe one you could add to it would be, hey, let's go figure out what we can learn about this. Let's go to the library. Let's read a book together. Let's listen to a podcast. Let's learn about this together, because that's where learning and love starts to create this very righteous cycle. We're trying folks to become ever clearer, not more complete or more certain. I think that's really true. Like anyone who has a craft that they work at and they love, know that in a sense they'll never arrive. They'll never fully understand it all. They'll never get it all. They'll never be the fount of all wisdom over, fill in the blank. But we can, and I think this happens for all eternity, we can get more and more clear, more and more clear. And it's not about a journey of perfection. That's just about this beautiful, open-ended journey of knowledge. And folks, it comes down to this, and I think this is so important, so important. Maybe the greatest, and I've said this before, but I'm going to repeat again, maybe the greatest of all moral virtues we can have in terms of this endeavor, this firstborn, this knowledge, is to remain curious. Um, Curious people are really good people, I find, almost as a rule of thumb. I mean, there might be a few dastardly people out there who are curious. I just haven't met them. But it's one of the primary traits of a really good soul. When you find someone who's curious, hang out with them because they are fascinating people to be around. And there's a whole set of moral decisions that go around being curious. So we want to hold on to that, folks, and we want to remember as well, that we're talking truth is first in time, love is first in end, and that all this truth has to be guided towards love, and love and truth together get guided towards action. That's basic Christian theology there. We learn what's true. That helps us to really love it. Loving it helps us to really learn it. The two are a synergy. And then we look to apply it out there in life. Now, things can't go wrong with that, which we're going to look at next week. But for today, let's just, again, have a weekend of curiosity. Have a weekend of learning. Like, think of a little goofy thing. A 5-minute video on sourdough bread for all that matters, right? But it really could. And just watch how learning and love can go together, and just learn a little bit this weekend. First in time, geared towards the first and end, which is always love. So that's my thought for today, folks, and wishing you a beautiful weekend. And what we're going to do now is we're going to do a little meditation. After the meditation, what we're going to do is we're going to do a little prayer. And then what we're going to do is then we're going to hop onto social media. And I'm going to say a little hello to those of you who have joined us from online. Again, you can put all kinds of posts in different places. I will get to them eventually. So friends, let's go ahead and get started here with our little meditation. So let's all get a big breath. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am. Be still and know that I. Be still and know that. Be still and know. Be still and. Be still. Be. Our Father, who art in the heavens, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, as in heaven, so upon the earth. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we also forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you, bring you peace, and bring you home. Amen. All right, dear friends, let's give a little cheery hello to folks who are joining us this morning. And again, I hope you have a wonderful weekend ahead. I know tonight we have a little dinner date night, and then off to a graduation party for a parishioner's daughter, which will be a lot of fun this evening. All right, friends, we're almost there. Let's take a look at these comments. All right. Uh, Sherry writes, good morning. Have a great weekend. Well, same to you too, Sherry. Marcus, good morning to you, buddy, and hope you're doing well. Susan, good morning to you, and hope everything's better there west of the Appalachians. Kim writes, happy Friday all. So true, and happy Friday to everyone. Betty, I love what you wrote here. Good morning. Our world is in desperate need of more learning and love. It's interesting, right, the way that they go together. Really loving people love to learn. People who love to learn tend to be really loving. And I mean that in its best sense. And I think that's really important. You know, we can be a little disparaging sometimes about learning, like, what is this all book knowledge? Well, no, not when it's driven by love, not at all. uh Carl writes, learning and love, so important, never abandon curiosity. Carl, I need to tell you, you just are a very curious person, and that's one of the many things that I treasure with any time we get to hang out together. Martha writes, life is all about curiosity. It sure is. And Martha, I say this a lot. The geekier, the better. It's the best part of getting in the auction loop, because talk about people with geeky interests. You see people who collect pocket watches to ice cream scoops, and it's all beautiful somehow. Uh, Dean writes, thank you, Chuck. It's a beautiful day. Amen to that, brother. It certainly is. And Natalie, I see you're joining us there too. Great to have you joining us. So, folks, just have a really curious weekend. Make it a lot of fun. Think, if there's something you're a little anxious about, just think like, oh, my prayer is just for curiosity. Smile and enjoy. All right, friends, take care, and we will see you again on Monday. God bless. Bye-bye.